Earlier this week, the board of directors officially approved XPO Logistics' planned separation of its freight brokerage business. The company also named a new CFO. I had the chance to speak to the company's current CEO and founder, Brad Jacobs, about the restructuring at the company.
I'm here at the Greenwich Economic Forum with Brad Jacobs, the founder and CEO of XPO Logistics, although not for much longer. Brad, it's great to see you in person. And I say not for much longer, of course, because the company is spinning off RXO, which is the logistics business. You just announced that's effective on November 1st, I believe. So talk to me about what's happening now, what the process feels like, and what investors can expect from the two companies.
It's very exciting. We're after 10 months of working really hard with a large number of people working long hours, we're this close to the spin. And we'll create two separate companies that will be an inch wide and a mile deep in what they do. And therefore, they're likely to do it much better. So we'll have a pure play, less than truckload business. That'll be XPO. And we'll have a pure play, non-asset truck brokerage business called RXO, which is best-in-class truck broker. So it's very exciting.
And you're not going to be running the day-to-day business any longer.
That's correct.
Do you have some plans yet for what the next Brad Jacobs chapter is going to be yet?
Well, I'm going to try to repeat what I've done before, which is to have companies that over a 10-year period or so create at least 10 times return on the initial capital. And so I'm not a private equity firm and trying to make 2 or 3x, and that's not my game. I go for things that are 20x, 30x, the big ones. So I'm looking for that. I'm looking for the next big thing.
And any hints of what industry or where you think the opportunities are? Because especially right now, it's a tricky time, right?
It's the best time to start a business when valuations are low and there's fear out there and there's not a lot of competition because a lot of people are nervous about not being courageous because they're nervous about where the economy is going and so forth. That's when you want to get it. That's when you want to buy, when valuations are reasonable and there's not a lot of competition. But I don't know. I'm still gainfully employed as CEO for a few more weeks.
Sorry to get you don't mean to get you to jump ahead too soon. But let's talk a little bit more about the environment. You and I were just talking before now about all of the negativity that we're hearing, right? From Ray Dalio to Jamie Dimon, the IMF cutting its GDP forecasts.
Walter to Jones, the whole list.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, you have a really good finger on the pulse of what's going on in the economy because of moving things around. So what are you seeing?
So I don't always get it right. I often get it right, but not 100% of the time. My take is we're probably... So when you see all these really great minds all come out and universally say, oh, it's really bad coming up, that's usually historically been the final pre-capitulation phase. So everyone agrees that, oh, it's really bad, and then you have the final plunge. That's the time to buy. When everybody's saying, oh, it's down this, it's going to keep going down more. That's the time to do it. So I'm really have my antennas up for, because I don't think this downturn, which is likely to happen, is going to last for a long time. And don't forget, there's two things. There's the economy and there's the market.
Yes.
And the market is usually a couple quarters ahead of the economy.
Right. So we could see. So the capitulation you're talking about is
the market.
In the market.
Yeah, stock market.
And then the economy might lag that.
Yeah, economy could lag. Could as interest rates go up, as quantitative tightening gets tighter, you could see a significant slowing in the economy. But the world has become such a small world and so well informed, and so many people understand economics now. They didn't during the great financial crisis. I don't think it'll last long. I think there'll be such pressure to, okay, now we reduced inflation. Okay, now let's get some growth going again. So I don't expect a long downturn. I expect a short, maybe significant downturn.
Now, one of the things that was a detail in the latest jobs report made me think of you, and that had to do with trucker jobs, which fell by 11,000 in the month of September. And I'm just curious what that tells us. The number of truckers hired, I should say, fell by 11,000.
Well, a metric that we watch very closely, Julie, is for every truck driver posting that we post, how many people apply for it. That's up about 45% just in the last several months. So there's a lot more people coming back into the job market as the economy gets a little tougher. So the pendulum is swinging on that. Don't get me wrong, it's still very tough to hire truck drivers. It's a lot less tough than it was even a few months ago.
The inventory climbs that we are seeing by a lot of, not just the retailers, but in other industries as well, How is that affecting your business and the loads of things that you guys are trucking around?
Well, the transportation business does better, the industry as a whole, when inventories are low, not high.
Right.
There's more restocking, there's more goods being moved. But what you see right now is really interesting. As a result of all the craziness of the pandemic, people got they have a lot of inventory, but it's often the wrong inventory. So they have too much of this and too little of that. So there's still a lot of activity, so goods are still flowing.
Goods are still flowing, but not as much as they were.
Not as much.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting dichotomy. You observe the same thing I observed today at the Greenwich Economic Forum. It's pretty downbeat. It's pretty dire. People have their worry faces on.
Yeah.
When you talk, so my echo chamber is a little bit different. My echo chamber is CEOs of large companies, chief supply chain officers of large companies, entrepreneurs of small businesses who need their goods moved. And they're not as negative. They're not as positive as they were, say, a year ago. They're less positive. But they're generally growing. They're not contracting. They're just growing less.
All right, I have one final fun question for you. The Tesla Semi, how much is that going to change the trucking industry?
It depends on the price point. So we're a partner to one of the big OEMs for their electric vehicle semis. And actually, we call them semis.
Semis,
The
excuse me, semiconductor semis.
And we call them semis
Sorry.
in our lingo. That we're talking about. But the semis are, they're beautiful, and the truck drivers love them, and they're slick, and they're well designed, and they accelerate fast, and they're safe, and they have all kinds of gizmos in them. But they're really expensive, and so the economics aren't there yet. Now, if the technology advances and the manufacturing process advances such that they become cost effective, yeah, it can be very transformative.
Makes sense. All right, Brad Jacobs of XPO, thank you so much. It was great to see you in person. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure's mine.
Thanks.
So it was fun there because Brad was sort of an antidote to a lot of the darkness. I mean, he's not saying everything is hunky-dory and fantastic, but part of it is the force of his personality. Part of it is what he's seeing on the ground. He was a little bit of a counterbalance to some of the worst case scenarios that we're hearing out there.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
Yeah, semi.
It was interesting to what he said, though, about the Tesla semi-truck. It's going to be fascinating when those trucks eventually hit the road, because at some point it sets the stage for driverless semi-trucks in this country.
Yes, but as he said, the price has to come down
Absolutely.
for it to make sense, which makes sense.
Right. Also a critical time for the business, given the spinoff that's moving forward. And Drew Wilkerson is going to be the new CEO of that spinoff. And he had, even in this most recent earnings period, talked about how the company has a long track record of growing gross profit, even through economic cycles. And they're confident right now they're going to continue to do that.
I, for one, can't wait to see what Brad is going to do next. The next thing he's going to tackle.
It's tough to see him leaving this industry. He is this industry.
Yeah.